Everyone was spiraling over the super troops being added in spring 2020. But nowadays, all super troops besides the sneaky goblins never get used. And is it because of the 25,000 dark elixir cost, the situational uses of super troops, or are they just plain bad? In today's video, I'm going to be trying to debunk what could have caused these quote-unquote super troops to be so underused and underwhelming. Enjoy the video. I'm gonna start off by explaining what super troops actually are and what they mean inside of Clash of Clans. Super troops are modified versions of normal troops that you can choose to boost at your own will for 3 days at a time, costing you 25,000 dark elixir. And these super troops have certain abilities, but they also cost more housing space per unit. And for some super troops, this becomes very worth it. And taking a look at the usage rates, you can see that more than half of them get left in the dirt for the other ones. So you might be thinking to yourself, why is there such a drastic difference between how good and bad the super troops are? There are many reasons for this to happen, but the first one that immediately comes to mind is the situational uses of certain super troops. For example, super troops such as Super Valkyrie, Ice Hound, and Inferno Dragon rarely get used because of how situational they are. Say a Super Valkyrie gets funneled into a bad spot away from the rest of the attack and dies, dropping the rage spell, which is the main attraction of that troop. It's going to be going down in a horrible spot, along with these rage spells being extremely tiny, gaining you pretty much no value to the attack, and you wasted all the extra housing space to get that super troop. And yet another example is the Ice Hound. If it strays away from the attack and dies due to its air defense targeting, the free spell is wasted and it's not worth the extra housing space. Finally, the Inferno Dragon gets stuck on low HP defenses for long times due to its Inferno charge up style attack. And I know these are very niche examples, but trust me, there is more reasons to come. Number 2, the originals are more worth it. Two super troops that are a prime example of this problem is the Super Witch and the Super Miners. Super Miners cost 24 housing space each, and while they leave a special present behind after dying, by comparing the stats of 4 Miners versus 1 Super Miner, the housing space difference by the way, 4 Miners is the clear winner for overall health and damage per second. To go along with this, some super troops are just plain bad. Super Giant and Super Valkyrie, I don't think I need to explain this one, but I can't say all this bad stuff without showing how meta some of the other ones are. I'm not just saying super troops are bad in general. Some of them are very viable. It's just half of them don't get touched ever. But to point out some really good ones, Sneaky Goblins, they are the meta for farming. Super Wall Breakers used in high level advanced queen charges. Super Wizards and Archers in Invis Blimp attacks. And Super Minions are really good on defense for an anti-queen charge CC. So there you go. There's all the good super troops. But yeah, the rest of them, I'm gonna get into that. It seems as if half these super troops don't even fit in with the current meta. If you take a step back, there aren't many meta attack strategies in the current meta besides Super Archer Blimp that are currently being utilized at a higher level. Like me, I'm a Town Hall 15 player, and with my high level troops on my main account, I still never see myself going to the super troop camp and boosting a troop unless it's a sneaky goblin. Like nowadays, you get so much loot from attacks that you might as well use the already meta attacks like Root Rider Spam, Electro Titan Smash, and Queen Charge Lalo to secure yourself with 3 stars. But I don't know, I just never see myself going to the super troop camp. I just realized I'm not sure if I'm talking about whether people actually use super troops or if half of them are bad. I guess I'm kind of talking about both at the exact same time. But as a whole, super troops do what they're meant to do. I just don't see them getting used that often. But there's a few ways that Supercell can fix this problem, mainly with the skewing between the usage rates. I think super troops in general have decent popularity. They're not my forte personally, but I'm going to begin and talk about all the different ways that they could possibly fix the actual usage rates right now. Number 1 would be reducing housing space costs, because some of these just cost way too much. One of the most significant reasons why a certain super troop is underused, like the Ice Hound, is that their housing space cost is way too high for the utility they provide. Many players avoid using them because they take up too much space, and reducing the housing space from 40 to like 35 might give the freeze spell from the Ice Hound more worth it, I guess. This would allow players to integrate these super troops into a wider variety of strategies without sacrificing too much overall troop count in relation to the efficiency. But my second solution that I came up with, improving their abilities. Some of the super troops have quite stale powers that are either too niche or too difficult to use effectively. Something like increasing the rage spell on the super Valkyrie is a good example of doing a rework, or maybe giving the super giant a special first punch ability just like in Builder Base. Something like that to give the bad troops a refresher, rework some of the stale abilities, and this would make super troops more user friendly and consistent in a wider range of attacks. So yeah, and a general just overall buff. If you're not going to rework the bad ones, maybe give them a buff to their hit points and damage per second, maybe, because I'm sure Clash of Clans intended for super troops to be used and each one have their own purpose, but right now in the current meta, in the current state of the game, some of them just don't have their place, and there are those that do, but the skew is massive, like massive right now. I don't see anybody using Ice Hounds, Inferno Dragons, Super Miners, Super Witches, Super Giant, Super Valk, unless it's a clan games challenge. It's literally, I haven't seen it, okay? So maybe just giving them all little health point buffs, maybe a reduction to housing space, and potential reworks might give a little refresh and more life to the super troop aspect of Clash of Clans. Because if we're being real, you're a very rare case if you're boosting a super miner. I'm sorry to tell you, you might have something wrong with you. Same thing with Inferno Dragons, okay? But I'm gonna pop up the usage rates yet again, just so you guys can take a harder look at it. A lot of these need buffs, dude, I'm not gonna lie. It's so sad. It's so sad. One thing I also forgot to talk about was the 25,000 Dark Elixir costs for boosting your troops for only 3 days. Sometimes it's not worth it, guys. I'm not gonna lie. Supercell has started to accommodate for Dark Elixir usage via their updates, where they cut in half the Dark Elixir spending in the laboratory, and they took off a quarter of the Dark Elixir usage on pet upgrades. So I'm sure everybody's having surpluses of Dark Elixir, even the horrid Super Valkyries. You have a little bit more Dark Elixir to play around with, and you can justify boosting. So even though I said it in the intro, it's not that important and that bad of a problem. I don't even know what I was yapping about. But let me know what you guys think about the current state of super troops in Clash of Clans down there in the comments. And if you like this style of Clash of Clans commentary videos that I put out, be sure to give me a thumbs up on your way out of the video, and perchance subscribing so you don't miss my uploads. More great videos to come into the future. Thank you everybody so much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day or night, and bye bye.